Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Fantasy Show brought to you by Over the Bar. Hope you're all doing well, and we're getting ready for another fine weekend of Bundesliga action. Very much looking forward to it, but of course, we all need to make sure that we get our Bundesliga fantasy team set, obviously ahead of another fantasy break and international break as well. Joined this morning, as always, by Rune. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. Just celebrated my 33rd birthday last night. Woke up early this morning and did all the preparation. Didn't have much time yesterday, but ready for another show now.
33rd. Well, happy birthday, Rune, from myself and no doubt all the Bundesliga fantasy community. You've nipped ahead of me for a little while. I'm sure I'll catch up with you fairly soon, though. There we are. So we're both maturing very well, no doubt. Great stuff. Let's get stuck into it. I know there's been quite a lot of questions asked over on X, so we'll make sure that we come to those. But we'll just crack on straight away. Obviously, do make sure that if possible, you can leave a thumbs up on the show. There we are. Comment along. Nice to see a couple of people in there already. So if I can double check. So good morning, Yona, William, TBL, Jacob. Morning all. Let's get stuck into it. Without further delay, here are the defenders. There we are, going at the bottom of your screen. So Rune, I'll hand over to you for this part as per.
Yeah, I actually quite struggled to find great value at the back in the budget category this time around, but did have a look at my Wolf. And not because he did well last week, but of course that was a very different game against Leipzig. This time, Augsburg have a home game against Gladbach, where that looks quite even on paper, I think. So they should have a better chance there and should be more in possession. And I think Wolf's match day 3 performance caught the eye. The game where he got 366 points. In general, I think he's a player that is very suited to the point system in terms of winning duels while also contributing offensively to the way Augsburg play. And I think at 7 million, he offers quite good value as a wingback for this week. His direct opponent will be Luka Netz, doesn't have the strengths in the defensive area. So I think could be a good game for Wolf. And my mid-price pick this week is Mitchell Weiser, who actually started in an attacking midfield role against Hoffenheim last week. And looks like he will be playing there again against Freiburg. And he was already a really attractive option as a wingback. And I think this has only added to his appeal. And then finally, my premium pick this week is Maximilian Mittelstädt, who is very expensive. So he's quite difficult to fit in your team. But I think with his 5% ownership, he's a quite good differential, and he's been performing really well lately. He's coming off 2 goals in the Bundesliga. Stuttgart are playing Hoffenheim at home in a game that I really back Stuttgart to win. I know Hoffenheim just won in the Europa League last night, but they are struggling a lot at the moment, and especially at the back. And at the same time, I think Stuttgart are one of the best playing attacking sides in the league, and Mittelstädt could be really key on the left side in that game, I think.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for that, Rune. Apologies if there's any connection issues. I'm certainly really having issues on my end. Can you hear me okay at the moment, Rune?
Yeah, there's a bit of delay, but I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. As long as everyone can hear you, that's the main thing. Do let us know in the chat if you're struggling a little bit with connection. We're having a bit of slowness this morning and delay, but we'll press on, and I'll just put questions on screen. It might be a bit delayed, but we'll work through it. Doobie-doobie-doos. Right, let's get this first one up from Yona. Let's get on to feelings of keeping Wirtz, Grimaldo, Musiala and Kane. I personally think Grimaldo will start. Wirtz, doubt it. Musiala and Kane transfer. Do you want to just cover at least the Grimaldo part of this for Jonna, and then we'll maybe come and we'll probably describe those other three in a little while.
Yeah, Leverkusen's starting lineup is extremely difficult to predict this week, but there are a few players that I really trust to start, and Grimaldo is one of them. Pretty sure he'll start. Usually plays almost every minute, and yeah, I don't think they have the same options at the left wing back position that they have at the right wing back position, where they have Taylor, for example, who can easily step in and replace Frimpong and play at a pretty high level. So I think Grimaldo is just too important for the game at the moment, especially given the alternatives. So pretty sure he'll start. With Wirtz, that's more difficult to predict. Wirtz actually played more minutes this season than I expected. Last season, he was often rotated out, but that hasn't been the case this season so far. So it seems like he is playing more minutes per game. And I also thought about it, the general rotation issue topic with Leverkusen. Alonso doesn't really have, I mean, we're going into an international break now, so he doesn't really have an incentive to really rotate his team. It won't matter much to him, at least. But then, of course, if his players are tired, and he said that after the Milan game, he said, my players look tired in the second half or the last 30 minutes, then of course it makes sense to put some fresh players out there. The question is, will Wirtz be one of the players moving to the bench? I'm not sure. And earlier in the season, I didn't get him for a similar game, and then he ended up starting. That was a Wolfsburg game, and that was really terrible for me. So yeah, I need to be 100%, almost 100% sure of him not starting to not get him. We'll wait for the press conference and see what he says there. Really difficult to assess, but yeah, I think he's great to have in the team, of course, and maybe you can line up in a 4-4-2. Just to have a bit more flexibility. And with Musiala and Kane, can't really see why you should sell them, actually. Should both start. Bayern have played some great football. Yeah, they're pretty safe for me. I'm not considering selling any of them.
That's grand. Thank you very much for that, Jonna. Good question to get us started. Not a question from Imad, but just a nice comment, and it's just nice to shout out different people. So first time playing Bundesliga fantasy football seriously, so really glad that you're getting involved, Imad. Hope you're enjoying the game, and you're very welcome in respect to us doing the show. We love our community that we've built here, and we're very glad that you're a part of it. And a question from friend of the show as well, Away Day Joe. Obviously mentioning about Grimaldo and Kane last season being undroppable. But last season, Joe got rid of Grimaldo, thinking of ditching Kane. Even if he scores big, it's not as bad as if you free up the cash for your squad. So, Rune, sounds like you're opposed to dropping Kane, but obviously you can understand Joe's thoughts about freeing up cash to bulk up elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I also started out the season without some of the real premium options because I applied the other strategy of maybe saving some cash and raising the bottom level, so to speak, of my squad. But I think last week was special because Leverkusen and Bayern were playing each other, and I also sold Grimaldo there. But if he plays at home against Holstein Kiel, and you don't have him, and other people are starring him at the back, you also need to keep that in mind. I think the whole star thing, because as I said earlier, with Wirtz, I didn't have him for the Wolfsburg game, for example. A lot of people start him for that game, and if he gets like 400 or 500 points, and other people even have him as a captain, then it can be really hurtful not having that kind of player. It shouldn't be underestimated to have that perfect star option in your team as well, who you just know will do well almost every week. And that's the same with Kane. I know he didn't score last week, but most weeks he will score, and he also had a hat-trick, for example, against Kiel. So that just shows you how important it can be to have that real star player, even if you have to pay a bit more to get him. But it is a balance, because you can't have like 6 players for 20 million and then just have a lot of 1 million players. That will also not work. So you need to prioritize which players to get. But Grimaldo and Kane are some of the players that I will personally prioritize to have in my team.
That's grand. Thanks very much for the comment and question there, Joe. Jacob has asked about Schlotterbeck, who could pick up some good points against Union Berlin this weekend. Certainly a fixture that if Dortmund turned up in, they should be able to have good control and quite a lot of goal chances. So what do you think to that one?
Yeah, I've been praising Schlotterbeck a lot, especially after his match day 1 performance, but I don't think he's really lived up to that. I had him last week, and I was really disappointed with his returns. So he hasn't been performing as well as I had hoped and expected that he would. That said, still has he still suits the scoring rules very well in terms of being a player who wins duels and also is good at bringing the ball forward. And at the same time, Union are very harmless up front, I think. Difficult to see where the goals should come from. So it is a good game to back a Dortmund defender. The question is, do you want to pay that fee for Schlotterbeck? Because I don't think in the last few weeks that he's lived up to his price tag, at least. You also have Anton, for example, who's cheaper and who actually did better last week. But definitely a good game to target and to get a defender in from Dortmund.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Thank you for that, Jacob. And just checking my phone quickly, so forgive my eyes from looking elsewhere, because I'm looking at X and questions that have come on there. One from Jay is in relation to between Maximilian Mittelstadt and Weiser, who would you prioritise having in your squad this match day? Obviously, Rune, you got both in your picks, so any either way around, if you can be put on the spot, who would you take?
I think it's pretty even between them, but yeah, I probably back Stuttgart a bit more to win their game and to dominate their game. But then again, Weiser is 4 million cheaper and also plays in a more attacking role. So I would probably go with Weiser of the two. But I like them both this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's move on to midfielders, and then we'll come back to some more questions just to move the show along. So midfielders now going at the bottom of your screen with Rune's 3 picks for this match day. So back over to yourself, Rune, to walk us through these.
Yeah, starting off with Jamie Giddens, because with Adeyemi out injured, Giddens looks set to start for Dortmund against Union. And Union have actually looked pretty solid at the back. But then on the other hand, Dortmund have been scoring freely of late. Scored 7 goals against Celtic and also 4 against Bochum. So they know how to find the net at the moment. And Girassi is really proving to be a good asset for them at the moment. And also Giddens has already shown a lot of what he can do this season. He's on 4 goals and 2 assists in all competitions already. And if I remember correctly, those 4 goals have both been braces. So he's the type of player who can really have a haul when he's on his game. And I think actually at 10 million, that's a quite low price tag for him. If you compare that price to some of the other wingers for the big teams, I think 10 million is not a lot for a player like him. And my mid-price pick is Nadim Amiri, who has a point to prove after his red card against Augsburg on match day 5. I'm sure that wasn't popular in the Mainz squad on match day 4, probably was. They need him to step up. They're desperate for a result against St. Pauli. That is actually a quite good matchup for them on paper. But then again, St. Pauli are coming off a pretty good win. That should give them a lot of confidence. And Mainz need to step up here. And usually when they do so, when they need that, Amiri will help them out. So I think he 2% ownership at the moment. Before the red card, he showed what he's capable of with the new scoring system and everything. So it could be a quite good productive game for him, I think. And then finally, Granit Xhaka, he's one of the few Leverkusen players I'm confident will start against Kiel, because looks like Palacios will be starting in central midfield, get his first start of the season. And I don't think Alonso will change both of his central midfielders. And with Xhaka, it's a bit like with Grimaldo. He's just really, really vital for the way Leverkusen play, and he very rarely gets a rest just because he's so important. And especially if Palacios is coming in, I think it would be a risk to take Xhaka out as well. So I assume that Xhaka will start, and at the same time, he's been very good fantasy-wise so far this season. He's not been as good as Wirtz points-wise, but he's also cheaper. He's 5 million cheaper, so I think for the price, he's performed very well. And as we talked about last week, just from passes alone and from build-up, he gets so many points, and that gives him a really good floor. And of course, it's a great game for Leverkusen at home against Holstein Kiel. So a lot of potential there.
Yeah, obviously we've got to be careful in terms of the 3-player limits on our teams as well per team. So I presume many people will be backing to have 3 Leverkusen players. Naturally, it's about which 3 you go with. Right, so just want to pick this one up from Nick. Good morning to you. I've been watching your videos for the last 2 years already. Thanks for your input. Is it time to sell Freiburg assets? Obviously, yeah, balloon very much burst weekend just gone, Rune. Despite the fact that they probably could have had, well, they should have had 3 goals. Well, they scored 2 and had a penalty miss. Perfect timing for me to bring in Grifo and for him to miss a penalty. Yeah, so then a trip to Werder, which we imagine is going to be a fairly tricky game for them, but they can still do well. Is it time to panic for anyone who has the likes of Grifo in their team and so on?
I don't think so. It depends on which Freiburg players you have in your team. Grifo is still a very good option for me. Don't forget, Werder conceded 3 goals in the space of like 15 or 20 minutes against Hoffenheim last week. So if you have some attacking players for Freiburg, I wouldn't worry that much. As you said, Rory, they could easily have had several goals against St. Pauli last week. It just wasn't to be for them. They just didn't have the luck, or just missed the final thing to get those goals. But 3-0 was very flattering for St. Pauli, I think. So wouldn't worry too much if we were talking Adamo and Grifo. I still think they're good picks this week.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for that, Nick. Right. Just want to double check again. Questions in on X. One from Stephen Fraser, and he was just wanting to clarify or check about Musiala and an injury around him. And I think he's fine to start. I haven't heard otherwise. Rune, is that something that you're aware of?
No, I think he's asking because he didn't start in midweek against Aston Villa, but he got a rest there.
Yeah.
He was probably a bit tired. So, but that's actually an advantage for this weekend, because that should mean that he will almost 100% be starting because he just got a break. So, yeah, shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. One from Jay, FBL Gunnosaurus, said that he saw on Bulinews, of course, that Mio hasn't been predicted to start. Is that just because he played a full game midweek? He was a top pick that I was looking at. So, yeah, I mean, he played a crucial, well, he played another full role in Stuttgart's games, which he is doing, obviously, because that is just the way that he's playing so far this season. Do you want to just pick that up for Jay if you can, Rune?
Yeah, to be honest, it's one of those predicted lineups that's very difficult to do this week because Stuttgart have a lot of good attacking players, and yeah, it's difficult to predict what Hoeneß will do. Mio has been in great form, but he's also played a lot of minutes, so it depends on how he looks on the training pitch. If he's maybe a bit tired after that quite demanding midweek game in the Champions League. I think they have some very good alternatives in Rida and also Furyk, for example, who's been experiencing a bit of a dip in form. So at least with Mio, I'm not 100% sure, but not ruling out a start at all. Probably wouldn't touch those Stuttgart attacking midfielders, wingers, because at the moment I think it's just so difficult to predict. But maybe we'll know a bit more after watching the pre-match press conference. Can't remember actually if it's actually after the transfer deadline. I'll have to check on that. But at the moment, I think it's probably a bit too unpredictable who will get those starts in attacking midfield and on the wings.
Yeah, for sure. Goal Machine also asked on X about what to do with Wirtz, but I think we covered that for you, pal, hopefully. In respect to starting Florian Wirtz. And Greg has asked, we'll do this one and then we'll move on to strikers, I think. How many premium players should we aim to have? I've struggled this season finding the right balance with the lack of cheap enablers. I've had to carry someone like Chaser a few match days, even after he was benched due to lack of funds to upgrade. So this is just a good general question, Rune, from Greg. So thank you for asking it. And it's something that, even myself, when I'm, absorbing everything from you, that I found a battle at times. So what's your advice, just generally speaking? You don't have to, name certain players if it's hard this week, but just the general approach that maybe you've used.
I think, it's difficult to say because also it depends on the matchups, but I think at least one premium player in each line, one defender, one midfielder, and one striker. And then most weeks you'd like Grimaldo, Wirtz, Musiala, and Kane. At least that's what I'm aiming for, just as a rule of thumb. And then probably also Xavi Simons, if he's counted as a premium asset. So it's I think maybe between 3 and 5 is if we're talking the most expensive players in the game. I think that works well most weeks.
That's grand. Yeah, sound logic there. Right, we'll move on because we haven't got too many questions in the live chat. So let's go on to the strikers. Rune, you can run us through this and then we'll cover anything that is asked in the meantime.
Yeah, my budget pick is Elias Saad from St. Pauli, who's obviously very in form at the moment. And yeah, of course, it's quite easy to mention a player who's just scored a brace. But I think he also did well in the previous game, actually. Already caught the eye there against Leipzig, got 155 points in a 0-0 draw for St. Pauli in such a difficult game. So that also says something. And I think the game against Mainz is one that they will look to win based on the great result they got last time. They should have a lot of confidence, and he especially should have a lot of confidence. And at the same time, Mainz are finding things a bit difficult at the moment. So at 5 million, I think, he could provide great value for money. And then my mid-price pick is Jonas Wind from Wolfsburg, who was finally back in the starting lineup for Wolfsburg last time and showed why he deserved to be there. 265 points. And now Wolfsburg have a game against Bochum, who are very defensively fragile. And I think that could mean another productive game for Wind. Also like Amura from Wolfsburg, just 1 million cheaper, I think, if I remember correctly. Those two strikers both look good this week, I think. And generally, after international break as well, I think Wolfsburg have a quite nice schedule. So it's a bit of a shame that Fischer got injured, the wing back. He was also a player I was looking at for budget pick at the back. But I think they're a team to target maybe now and also after the international break. And then finally, my premium pick is Dennis Undab, and that's because he's one player I'm certain will start against Hoffenheim because he was rested last time, which came as a bit of a shock to a lot of people that suddenly he wasn't starting, and that probably also means that he won't get rested this time. And as I said earlier, it's a game I'm really backing Stuttgart to win, and I'm also expecting them to score multiple goals. And Undav has been one of their, he's just one of their best players, and also taking a lot of shots at goal, just picking up a lot of points usually. So at 13 million, that's also not too bad. I think just that bit cheaper than the most expensive players. I think he's a good shout this week.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, thank you for that, Rune. Definitely agree with all three of those picks. Actually, been really impressed with Saad since he came off the bench actually and had a real good impact. I think it was the game before the Leipzig one, and I must admit the team that he played against slips my mind. But yeah, absolutely, he looks like a good enabler. Should you wish to do so, Vind had a good impact against Stuttgart for sure, and then he is just everything centered around him for VfB Stuttgart right now. Right, I know there's a question from Jay on X in regards to who to take out between Kane and Marmoush. Obviously, it's really hard to do either, especially the form that Marmoush is in, considering he's outscored Kane so far. It scored again last night in Frankfurt's 3-0 win. 3 or 2. I'm losing track now. Either way, a good win and another good goal for Marmoush. So, yeah, that's a tricky one. And then Jay also mentioned about Stuttgart strikers. Undav's your man if you're picking a Stuttgart striker. Demirovic has settled in nicely, but hasn't had as greater impact in games as maybe he would have liked to in recent times. So Rune, yeah, Kane and Marmoush, tricky one right now.
Yeah, I'm just backing Bayern a lot more than Frankfurt at the moment. So not really considering selling Kane. I would probably sell Marmoush if I had him. Unfortunately, I don't, because I didn't bring him in last week. But I think it is a lot of money for a player like Marmoush, who's having such a difficult matchup. We saw last week with the Leverkusen players that they didn't get good returns against Bayern. So I think there are other options that I would probably get instead of Marmoush. I think that money is probably spent better elsewhere, as even if he's in great form at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just quickly, the last few comments. One from Joe, and he's mentioned, what do you think is the best 5 million goalkeeper? Labrovic is a bit hit and miss. That is entirely right, Joe. He's very hit and miss from the performances that I've seen from him so far, unfortunately.
Mostly missed, I think.
Mostly missed. Mark's not a fan, I can tell you that. No. What are we doing with our 5 million goalkeepers?
Yeah, the problem with Labrovic is he's not making a lot of saves. And Augsburg are conceding a lot of goals as well, so not really a good option. The only good thing about him is that he's cheap, but I think this week maybe Kaua Santos from Frankfurt. He had I didn't watch the game last night, but from what I could read this morning in the German papers, he was having a good game in the Europa League. And of course, if you're playing Bayern, then you are probably going to get tested as a goalkeeper and get to make some saves. Could also backfire if Bayern just score a lot of goals, but certainly has potential there, I think, at the same price as Labrovic. So that might be worth it. Then we have Moritz Nicolas from Gladbach, who's playing. He costs 1 million more, if I remember correctly. So he's at 6 million. And he could also, if you have that 1 million more to spend, I think it could also be a good option with Omlin currently sidelined. So might be worth it actually, given how Labrovic has performed this season. I've finished some match days without a goalkeeper just because he got minus points. Maybe it's time to look at some alternatives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And two quick ones from Jacob to finish us off. Thoughts about Šeško? Obviously, a player that's doing very well again. Obviously, did well against Salzburg and well in the Champions League. Ultimately, a disappointing end result for Leipzig against Juventus, 10 men Juventus as well. Šeško, I mean, it just seems that if Openda plays well, Šeško plays well, and vice versa. They come as a package deal. It often feels like from a Leipzig point of view. What would you think about sticking in him or even Openda?
Yeah, great pick. Can't remember his price. I think he's at 14 million, if I remember correctly. That's actually not a lot for Šeško with the form he's in at the moment. And there was one big positive about him in the Champions League the other night. He took the penalty because Openda missed the previous one. Now it looks like Šeško will maybe, now that he scored, he'll probably keep taking penalties going forward. So that's definitely a plus, and he's just with that 1 million cheaper. So actually a quite good differential.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jacob also mentioned in Elias Saad as should he be on the bench to replace a possible bad performing striker or even a starter? Jacob, I guess that completely depends on what you're doing from a formation point of view. For example, obviously, if you're doing 4-4-2 with the two strikers and you've got Kane and Marmoush, and you have enough to have Saad as a backup plan, then that's absolutely a good option for yourself. Obviously, if you're going for the two strikers and you want to pack out your midfield, then give him a go. Pauli on the back of some great confidence as he is, so that's definitely something to just basically depend on what you're thinking from a formation point of view, really. Any more thoughts or comments, Rune, just in general?
No, I agree with that assessment. Could start him, but he's a great bench player as well. But apart from that, I'm going to watch Alonso's press conference later, so be sure to check Bulinews for an update. Usually he just says, "Wir werden sehen," we'll see, and doesn't give a lot of answers. But hopefully he's helping us out a bit more this week. We'll see.
Absolutely, good stuff. Right, I hope that we haven't missed any questions, certainly not ones that are coming live or that have been asked prior to the show going live. Of course, if you do have a question, you've not been able to catch us whilst we've been live, you know what to do. Pop it in the comment section on YouTube, and myself and Rune will do our best to pick it up prior to that 7:30 kickoff this evening in terms of the starting lineups. Of course, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out the prediction show from last night, which I wasn't able to be on. And the lads' most recent vlog is out there to enjoy their trip to Unterhaching. And then we've got 2 more coming for you. So make sure you get those notifications on so you don't miss them. Of course, make sure you head over, whether it's on X or otherwise, and check out Bulinews. They'll be across it all day long in terms of the fantasy scouts, the percentages of people scoring, chances, everything. There's such great content. Make sure you head over there for Rune and the gang helping you out from a fantasy perspective. So all there is left to say is thank you as always for everyone tuning in with us. Hope you've had a good one. William, I can see formation this week. Rune, just very quickly, do you want to say formation just for William?
Yeah, I'm considering a 4-4-2 myself this week, just because of the weird situation, the doubt about him starting. I think that could work well to give a bit more flexibility if he doesn't start. So that's what I'm leaning towards at the moment, but I'll have to look at my team. But that could work. Thanks.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that, Rune, and thank you, William, for the last-ditch question. Brilliant. Thank you all again. Great show, great interaction. Have a great fantasy weekend, whether you're watching the football or not. And we'll see you in a few weeks, fantasy-wise, when we're back with another draft show. And looking forward to that. So thanks, everyone. Catch you next time.